Today I want to show you a few things that you can do in App Inventor that you might not know about. The first one, and we're looking here at the Lights Out app with the scoring. So the first one is you can right click and you can go to clean up blocks, and that will allow you to see all of your blocks in a nice, clean, neat list. Another tip that we're going to practice is you can import a project, and you can import that project from an email, from Google Drive, anywhere where you can download an AIA. Once it's downloaded, you can import it into App Inventor. Remember that you can only import and export AIA files. Here I'm going to import the Snowglobe file. It's in my downloads. So here it is. I'm going to open it. And now I'm looking at the Snowglobe app, and you could be looking at the same if you have already imported it. You can see there are several balls here and a canvas, and I'm going to show you how to get the blocks from this app into the backpack. So this is the backpack, and if you right click right on the backpack, you can empty it in case you had anything in it. I did. You can also show the documentation. This explains to you what the backpack does. And you can also copy all of the blocks to the backpack, which is what I am going to do. Now I'm going to return to the Lights Out project. So before I had used the cleaned up to clean up these blocks. I still want to reorganize them. This is my global variable that I'm using for the score, so I'd like to have that up on top. I also personally like to have my procedure calls up in the top area so I can quickly look at them and see what's going on with them. And then I have my procedures for the points. And then the procedures below. Just going to drag these up a little bit more so I can work with them. So what's going on here is a point procedure. So whenever the light bulb gets touched, this is what happens with the points. Because I have this variable, I can add 1 to the variable, and then I always want to make sure that I change the label, or in this case I'm using a score text box, and it's going to change, and if I get to 5, something's going to be called up and it's going to say that I won. Over here you can see that this is the losing. It vibrates and does the opposite. It's also possible to give good names so that you have a pretty good idea of what's going on here. And if that's not enough, you can also add comments. So to add a comment, you get this little question mark, and then I can type a note to myself. It has no effect on the program. So this procedure gives points. As we discussed already, you could, if you wanted to, you don't have to give 1 point. You could give more points, and I picked 5 for the winning score, but you could pick a different score. Now I'm actually going to take the things out of the backpack. You can do that by opening the backpack and dragging things here, or you can paste all the blocks from the backpack, which is what I'm going to do. So you'll see that a lot of these things that have popped up they have X's on them because I also have several repeated blocks. You can see these up here, and we're going to look at these and we're going to look at what it means to use the any component feature, but we're going to use it with the balls. So over here on the designer side, I added one ball. Just like the light bulbs, you can change the colors of the balls. I'm going to make this one bright yellow so that it shows up. You can change the radius of it, and I'm going to change this one to 15. You could even change the radius inside the coating if you wanted to, as things change around. And here you can see the XY positioning of this yellow ball. So I'm going to drag a few more balls on here. And I'm going to go through and just make some different sizes and colors. Doesn't really matter. I'm really doing this just to show you some of your options so that you can do interesting things. Let's try to get some different colors. And then we'll leave that one as it is. So here I have 5 balls. And then over on the list side, I'm going to make a list of these balls. So here I've got the first one, the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. I could rename them, but I'm going to have them doing very similar things, so I don't need to do that. And then here I have something that's randomizing locations of the balls. Over here, if it reaches the sides of something, it's going to become invisible. And this is what starts the snow globe. So this one is, if it's shaking, these are the things that are going to happen. So I'm going to need this. And I am going to put these into another place that makes sense. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the any component feature, but in this case we're talking about the any ball. So you saw that I put it on the designer side. I've put those balls in a list so that I can handle them. You can see they got named this already. I could change them, but I don't really need to. So this is another variable. I have that other variable, which is for the score. Remember that these are global variables, so they can be used all over this program. And then over here, right from the snowball, I have a procedure that's randomizing the location of the balls. And as you know, we already have the light bulbs being randomized. So when the screen initializes, I'm going to call randomize locations, and that's going to give me this. And I'm going to set all of those balls to visible. And if you haven't noticed this already, this tells you about your errors. So let's look and see what I've got for problems. There's probably some repeated handlers because I copied and pasted those blocks. So I'm going to pull this one out and I'm going to delete that, which gets rid of one of the errors. And then I have to go find it. You may also have already used or not this where you can press the space button and then you can, if you know what you're looking for. So I was looking for this one screen one initialize. And I can see that there's some kind of problem with that, but I'm not quite sure what that is. Here it is. So I've got two screen one initializes. That's a problem. So let me go bring this one up here. And I'm going to take this procedure out. I'm going to put that there. So these are two different procedures. One, randomized locations. I'm actually going to change it to sorry, ball. So that I won't get confused. And I'm going to do the same with this one. I'm going to call it light bulb move random. You don't necessarily need such details in your naming, but in this case, since I'm pulling all kinds of things together, I think it is a good idea. I'm going to use that clean up feature again, and then we're going to have a look at what we have and see how we want to change things. For this last bit of the video, we're just going to look at what's going on with this any component feature, which is down here. And we're focusing on any ball for right now. So first of all, I needed to make a list, and I've got the 5 balls there. Then I've got the score to 0. We've already did that for the last one. And then I'm randomizing the locations. I'm using a for list so that every ball will be considered of the 5 balls. And they should be moving around very similar to what was going on with a light bulb. You could actually go into where the light bulbs are moving around, and you could see that I could choose to use this, which is a bit better because it's more flexible. It doesn't matter what the size of the canvas is. So let's do that right now. Control C, Control V. That allows me to quickly copy and paste that. And I'm going to move that well up here to this space. And I could do the same with these others. It's always better to have a variable rather than a number. And then in this next section, as soon as the screen turns on, I'm setting all the balls to visible, and things are moving around, both the balls and the light bulbs. And over here, if the person touches one of the balls, then they get points. When you do that one, you'll notice that there is a problem where, because this is a for list, there is a point for every single one of the balls every time it gets touched, but you can work on figuring out what to do with that. This has the items moving around, and this loses points.